And before I start, I want to say what an honor it is for someone like me who's kind of new to the field to be sitting up here with folks like Sean and Lisanne. That's a big honor for me. So this will be on Facebook and everything. If you pay attention to the news, you might have heard that there's a little problem with unemployment in this country right now. And so that was especially true back in 2008, 2009, when a friend of mine named Rohan Matthew and I were students at Rutgers University. We noticed that, especially in the city of New Brunswick, whose poverty rate is about 3 times higher than the state average, a lot of folks were really struggling. But what we also noticed is that a lot of folks are trying to start businesses. When you go across the river to New Brunswick, you go down French Street and other streets like that, you see people selling churros on the street, or flowers, or CDs, or they have small grocery stores, things like that. But they often struggle. They often hit a barrier, and that barrier is often, it's hard to get money, of course, and it's hard to kind of learn the things you need to learn to manage a business effectively. And so Rohan and I, with the help of a lot of our friends that we kind of guilted into helping us with this, thought about what could we do as college students to help this. We can't build factories, we can't really change laws, we can't bring jobs back into America, but what we can do is try to take the resources that are already there in the form of the talent and the drive of people who live here and help them kind of build that into sustainable businesses. And so what we did was we raised some money for a loan fund to do microloans. We had some business training classes at various locations like churches and libraries, and at Elijah's Promise, actually, thanks to Lisanne for that. And so what we did was we figured, okay, let's help people start businesses so they can create the jobs in their communities and kind of go from there. And so we found a lot of demand for this in recent years. We've served probably about 250 clients. Our average loan size, we go up to $10,000, so these are small loans, but the average loan size is about $1,500 for somebody who wants to, say, buy a new salon chair, buy a hot dog truck, or just build their credit. And so we actually lent out our $200,000 last week in only a couple of years. And that's actually thanks in large part to Louis de la Haas, who's our senior loan officer, who's sitting here, thankfully joining us. And so he's a real superstar in the organization. And so what we've seen is that people, we read about unemployment, how bad the economy is, how companies are reluctant to hire people, and it seems to us as though the real solution forward is to help people help themselves. And so entrepreneurship can't solve everything. It certainly can't. But for a lot of people, if they can create maybe some side income or start a business that will create a couple of jobs, that can go a long way. And so we're based in New Brunswick. We also have an office in Orange, New Jersey. We're looking to expand to Perth Amboy and Elizabeth and up into Hudson County as well with lending, working with a lot of partner groups there. And so in addition to that, we're also trying to help other groups at various campuses throughout the country start similar organizations. And so we created this group called the Campus Microfinance Alliance, which offers grants and technical assistance to students who want to do similar things. And so yeah, we're trying to keep helping people start businesses and help them grow and hopefully create some jobs and help the economy.
Yeah, so as I sat and listened to the three of you, I tried to digest some common themes. And one common theme I think came up is there seems to be this deficit of skills. That you really see a lot of what you're doing is skills training. But I think if we dig deeper into the skills, maybe there's some other things that you're trying to pull out of the impact you're making beyond skills. If anyone would like to speak to that.
Sure. That's absolutely true. And what we've noticed in doing our technical assistance and training is that, ostensibly what we're doing is helping someone set up a bookkeeping system or do a marketing plan or set a budget or help fix their credit. But what you see when you meet with someone and you kind of peel back the first couple of layers is that there's a skills deficit, yes, but there's also a competence deficit. When you work with folks who, people my age who came from middle-class backgrounds, and millennial generation, have been told for our whole lives we can do whatever we want, we can be whatever we want, all that kind of stuff, which is nice. But what you have to realize is not everyone grew up in that environment. And in fact, a lot of folks who are trying to start businesses are told by friends and family and husbands and things like that, like, why are you doing that? Why you can do that? Why don't you just get a real job? So what you see is that there are people who are really talented, really hardworking, who could really do a lot, but they've kind of been beaten down for a lot, psychologically, and kind of had that talent minimized. And so I think what we found is that, in addition to helping someone register their business, you also show them, yeah, you can do this. Yes, you got to register, you got to pay taxes and keep your books, but you can do that. We'll show you how to do it. And then once someone has that, they can really their potential is limitless.
Anybody else want to add anything to that?
Well, I mean, in our case too, I think, and similar to our speaker earlier, there's also sort of the mission impetus behind being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And so for a lot of the folks that come through our doors and gain the skills, they're also gaining a connection with a community and a broader sense of how they fit into the world that brings them purpose and meaning and helps to bring those confidences and shape their next steps. So.
And you said mission because I heard you mention mission a couple times when you were describing
mission,
it.
mission, mission.
Please speak up a little bit.
Yeah.
Mission!
Yeah, I'll speak up a little bit. There's a common thread in terms of mission that carried throughout what you were saying. And how did you come to these missions, and who was part of designing the mission? I'm trying to figure out who are the
Well, in our case, the organization, started was launched from and grew out of mission. And so, in terms of the business, our business has been sort of directly connected to that mission from the beginning. What we had to really deal with along the way is mission creep. In the sense that, again, when we were feeding rich people through event catering, there would be times when I would take a step back and go, is this really our mission, to feed rich people? We're creating jobs and opportunities for our target population, low-income folks. But there came a point where we had to have the conversation around, well, what is and how do we structure this business to really be true to mission? And so in many ways, our evolved state now is much more true to mission.
Great. I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to open up the floor for questions. I heard Lisanne and Joe talk about collaborating, and how important is collaboration or I know it's important, but talk a little bit about how you come to the point where you know it's time to collaborate, and show them perhaps there's some organizations you're collaborating with.
Well, sure. I mean, right, when you're starting a business, you have to collaborate with all kinds of people. And so you need to ask for help, and you need to be a resource to others as well. But we collaborate with Camden County Community College, who awards up to 15 credits for youth who complete our training. So that was a long process to do. But so now our youth can get free college credits when they complete that. So it helps them, gives that boost to them. But there's all kinds of collaborators. We collaborate with the Housing Authority and other organizations to recommend youth to us, and to send youth to us. Big collaboration is our clients speaking about our work and recommending our work to other people. So at any event, yeah, there's all kinds of business and community and government collaborators that can help you out.
Lisanne, Joe?
Sure. Yeah, so aside from collaborating with Elijah's Promise, you guys are kind enough to send some folks who've gone through your culinary arts program to us, so they can learn how to do some of the business aspect of starting a catering business or a restaurant, that kind of thing. That's really good. In addition to that, we look at organizations that have similar missions to us but do different things. And so, for example, a group called Rising Tide Capital in Jersey City does great business training in Hudson and Essex counties. And so actually Mitch Green, who's in the audience, he was kind enough to let me come into one of the classes he was teaching for Rising Tide.
Now I don't have a job with No, just kidding.
Well, at that point, he was kind enough and talk about lending, and credit and that kind of stuff, because they're great at training and they do a lot of good stuff, and it's helpful to hear from the lender's perspective. Okay, I have a business plan. How do I get money for the business? That kind of thing. So we look for other organizations that do similar things, whose capabilities we can complement in some way.
Yeah. Well, if you could just step up so folks can hear you, please.
You talked about mission and vision. You talked about the struggle and conflict. When you're a nonprofit and you traditionally operate in a certain kind of fashion, and now you introduce social entrepreneurship. Some of the ingredients of social entrepreneurship as a nonprofit, you are making a social impact. But internally, what were some of the struggles to get the mindset and the culture to change, that you're not operating, not necessarily as a nonprofit, but as an entrepreneur, and had to find ways to earn income, and getting people to think that way, because that's a very challenging aspect of it.
Everyone catch this question? It was really around culture shift, and how do you shift culture internally when you're going from a traditional nonprofit to a social enterprise or social entrepreneurship shop. So, anybody
Culture
want-
shock.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Culture shock. Yeah.
Culture shock. Well, I mean,